Hello world. Today it is a cooking show, and today our episode is souffle. Get ready to cook. You want to make a roux, it's a good idea to use a non-stick pan, like a metal pan, and a whisk, because that way when you whisk it, the Teflon's not going to come all up and get in your food and look like pepper even though you haven't put any pepper in. And add about 2.5 tablespoons of butter. So like a chunk that big of butter. And go ahead and start to melt it. If the butter starts to get too hot, just take it off the stove. You add 3.5 tablespoons of rice flour. You can use normal flour if you want. 1, 2, 3. This doesn't have a half, so I'm just going to eyeball a half. So now you whisk this around, and you want to get this all nice and coated in the butter. You want to add some more butter to that so that it gets more nice and melted as you go. You see that little spot in the corner that's starting to get nice and melted? Add like just a little spot. That gets nice and melted in. And you keep whisking it so it doesn't get burnt, and you'll see it very quickly start to get a nice and golden brownish color. This actually took a little less than 2 minutes, but things just seem to be going fast. So this is a nice color that I like and I think is going to work really well. And that's a nice golden roux. Keep it on the heat. And we're going to add exactly 1 cup of milk. There's a little bit more than a cup in here, so. And add a cup. All at once. Once it comes to a boil, you want to boil it for 2 minutes. You will see it start to thicken as you whisk it. See it boiling? That's just what you want. So now you continue this for another 2 whole minutes. Whisk and boil. 2 whole minutes on this. This is even thicker than you want it for mac and cheese. This is a really thick roux. The reason that you want so thick a roux is because we're going to be adding egg yolks to this. Now once it's been 2 minutes, you can set it to the side and let it start to cool. The way that you prepare eggs for a souffle is you're separating the yolk from the egg white. And the most important thing when you're making a souffle is that the egg, if the egg yolk gets in your egg white at all, it's not going to be any good. You can set it to the side and have it later or the next morning with scrambled eggs or in a crepe, but you won't be able to use it for your souffle. Because even just a drop, even just a little teeny drop of egg yolk, if that gets in your souffle at all, it'll make it so the eggs aren't going to foam up when you go to whisk them, and they'll never become fluffy. I'm going to put all my egg whites in this really big bowl so that way I could whisk them. I'm going to put all my egg yolks in this smaller bowl so that way they're separate. And I'm going to break each individual egg over this little cup so that way if there's anything wrong with it, all of you out there with farm eggs, you know how every now and then you can get that bloody little mess of unformed chicken or whatever it is, who knows, it looks like a little demon in your egg. And some people love to eat those, but you could just pull that out. If you get that in there, you can just pull that out, and this way it doesn't ruin the whole batch. What we want for the recipe is 8 egg whites and 6 egg yolks. I'm gonna break the first egg. Ooh, I'm nervous. Later, if you want to make a souffle, you have to break some eggs. You know what? I dropped my yolk, but I didn't break it. This is a really good day. Oh, if you do that, just carefully lift it out and try not to break it. This egg white looks nice and clean, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in this extra bowl. 1 egg in, and I've got the jitters. Okay, now you've probably seen what happens. I have 2 eggs left, but I don't need the yolks for these, so I'm going to get an extra cup. So they're not going anywhere, and we're not going to waste the food. They're just being held on to. Egg whites, you can freeze them for a really long time. Egg yolks, you can keep them in the refrigerator for less than a week, and as long as you use them again, they'll be all right. So there we have our egg yolks. This was the cup that we used to separate them all individually in. It's empty now. These are our 2 extra yolks that we're not going to be using today, but we're going to hold on to. And this is our big bowl of egg whites that is going to be the main souffle soupiness. We come back to our roux and just kind of mix it up. And mine, I don't know about yours, but it might all come into your whisk like that. Smash it if it does. It's going to be okay. This is super thick and super good. You don't want it to be warm enough to melt the egg yolks. So now we have our lovely egg yolks. Lovely egg yolks. We are going to add them one at a time to this and whisk it around, and you'll see it start to get really thin as it does. Try it with your finger. Make sure it's not warm enough to cook the yolks. They might have to sit for just a second. Okay, so go ahead and with whatever you want to use, a spoon, or I have this kind of spatula-y sort of thing. Whatever you want to use, you just add 1 egg yolk at a time, and you mix it around. One of my egg yolks broke. See these other 2 egg yolks stewing in their bath of yolk from their former neighbor? This is what it looks like, actually, after the whisking that I've done, and the one that's sitting in there that still needs to be whisked. If this happens, that's okay. We'll just still put them in one at a time, and then we'll just slowly drizzle what's left on top of that. My roux is still quite thick. Thinner than it was before, but there's no lumps. It's nice and smooth. So now it's time to season this. Make sure you're in the mood to season. I used half a teaspoon of salt, and that is the standard, but that is a little much for me, so I'm going to go closer toward the maybe 1/3 of a teaspoon size. This is similar to what I did in the mac and cheese. Just a little handful like that you kind of sprinkle in. We're going to be using some parmesan on this as well, if you have it. So if know that that is very salty too. A 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, but I like a little bit more pepper. It's just really good. Oops, it's a little much, but that's okay. I like a good peppery souffle. It's really, really quite delicious. Just like our mac and cheese episode last week, see, you can, once you learn how to do one of these tricks, you can make normal mac and cheese, and then you can make a whole big souffle as well. You just scrape it like that. And there's a good little pile, and you just add enough that you can kind of pinch it. You never want so much nutmeg that anybody goes, nutmeg. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. And then some paprika or cayenne. Cayenne is a lot spicier than paprika, so it just kind of depends on how spicy you like your food. It looks like Dijon mustard. It won't taste like it, and don't taste it. Don't go tasting this now because it's got the raw egg in it. If you have a mushroom, this is an insanely huge mushroom. This is too big to put in a souffle, but this is a good way to use up one of those little the little stalky bit of your mushroom. Champignon? Is it champignon? Champignon? You take your mushroom and you just kind of wiggle, you kind of put it down on your surface board and you just kind of wiggle it back and forth until you feel it start to give. And then we're going to use this little guy. And this little runny bit, you can take that off. That's just called the annulus. That's when the sheath that kind of goes over the gills breaks up in the mushroom. It's growing wherever it grows or being cultivated. And you just kind of grate your mushroom stalk. This is going to give your souffle really, really good mushroom flavor. Collect this whole bit of mushroom in your palm. You come over to the sink and you give it a good hard squeeze and you get a lot of juice out of it. You really do. You get a surprising amount of juice out of it. Let them all kind of get laid out and kind of dry while we decide what else we're going to put in the souffle today. What I also have is basil. Pick off the leaves. And you can save this stalk of it to use in like a soup stock or something like that, but I'm not going to use it because it's very heavy and we only want light stuff in our souffle, so it stays light and fluffy. And then take your basil leaves and kind of roll them up and twist them. That helps keep them all together. And then take a good sharp knife and just kind of chop into it. Chop, go back and forth. Chop a sliver, go back and forth. Nice little thing of basil right here. All nice and fluffy, ready to go in. Also, what I would like to put in the souffle today is cheese. We can grate the cheese now, but you don't want to put the cheese in yet, because if you put the cheese in now, it's going to melt a little bit, and it's going to become kind of room temperature, and it's going to separate before it goes in the oven, and it's actually going to weigh your souffle down instead of making it go up. But if your cheese melts while it's in the oven, and that's the first time it's ever melted, it's going to help kind of solidify those air pockets that get made with your egg, and it's going to help keep your souffle up after you pull it out. So even if you don't want a lot of cheese in your souffle, put a little bit of cheese. If you've got cheddar, if you've got Swiss, if you've got any kind of fontina, I don't know, any kind of really good milky cheese that you know melts really well. If you're going to keep the wrapper on while you grate it, make sure that you watch it so that you don't get plastic in your grating. That's probably good right there. You just need that much of a pile. This is, I would say, between 2 and 3 ounces, probably more towards the 2 sides. So we're going to add the basil. Go ahead and add the... I used to work with someone named Basil. Stuff's in this. Hello, Basil! It gives a very nice smell. Oh, that smells so good. And your mushrooms, collect all those. They should be nice and fluffy, and break them apart as much as you can. And go ahead and add your mushrooms. Do we add the cheese yet? No, we don't add the cheese yet. We're going to wait. We're totally going to wait on adding the cheese. Prior to whisking the egg whites, prepare our baking dish. Now, when you're making a souffle, what the proper baking dish is a ramekin. This is quite a pretty deep dish, see? You take some butter, and you just kind of line the inside of it. You always want to grease the pan and get all around the edge of it, so that way, if any of your souffle comes out over the edge, it's okay. It won't stick. It's to take Parmesan cheese, make sure you shake it ahead of time to get all those big clumps out of there. Then you just pour this, and you just kind of roll it around. Take a piece of paper or junk mail. I've got some junk mail right here, and do it over that, because this will put it to good use. If it gets all clumped in the middle, pull it back up. So this way we don't waste any. Just pour it right on back. Now look at that. That's just what you want, is to line the whole dish like that with Parmesan cheese, and so when it melts, it creates this really super nice crust. The next step is to preheat your oven. You want your oven to be 375 degrees. Now the last step before we put everything together to be put into the oven is we have to mix up the egg whites. The best way to mix the egg whites is if you have one of those big, sort of comes over the top of the thing, mixers with the things that come down, and you just set it and you can let it go slow all day. I don't have one of those, so I'm going to have to make do. If you have one, you're going to use an electric hand mixer. It's been in the cabinet for a long time, so if it's been there a long time for you to take any dust off it, wow! This is just what you want. Take an extra bowl and start to do it in here, and it'll get to be really foamy on the top, but you'll still have some on the bottom, so then you can take that foam out, save it because it's really nice and good, and then really get at the stuff that's on the bottom without messing up the foam that's on the top. Okay. There. See those peaks that just came up? Those little peaks are just great. So go ahead and take this top part off and put it in your extra bowl. Use like a spatula or just a big wooden spoon. This is really good souffle foam. But as you start to get toward the bottom, you'll start to see not so much. Mix it around some more and it becomes quite soupy again. So now you got to take the blender to it. You can pulsate it too, as long as you don't drive anyone crazy. But you can pulsate it too, as long as you don't drive anybody crazy. And go ahead and pour that in as well. See, now you've got this wonderful, really, really thick foam. It's just super thick foam, because we did it in 2 parts actually. Go ahead and use a spatula to get any of the loose little, and scoop them out and put them into your yellow mixture with the yolk, with the roux and all the good stuff. And then you're going to take a big heaping pile of your foam, plop it on in there, and mix it on in all nice and slow with your spatula. And then take a little pile of this, plop it in here, and just kind of fold it in. Just kind of slowly turn it. And then you take another little thing and you plop it in here, or a big scoop. And then you take a big scoop of this, try to get more of the foaminess. And fold it on in and turn it. And you just kind of go back and forth like this for a little bit, maybe five times. And so this will start to look like this. And then stop taking your foam from here and just start folding it into here. Fold, scoop, fold. And this is where the love comes in, because you really have to take your time with it. And use your spatula to get all the last little bits out of there. Now is the time for your cheese, so sprinkle in a little bit of cheese and fold. And you kind of got to skedaddle because you don't want your souffle to deflate at all. So take this and put it into the pan that we've already pre-prepared, and you're gonna be really glad at this point that you've already pre-prepared it. Pour that in, nice and slow. It comes all the way up to the top. And scoop it out with your spatula. If you kind of make a mess, it's okay. That's the fun of cooking. Here's how you make a crown so that your souffle doesn't go over the edge. Take a good amount of aluminum foil, bend it in half, and then crown your souffle dish as though it were royalty, because this is a meal fit for a king. Move around like that. I probably didn't need so much, but I didn't want to come up short on the show. Things that you can top your souffle with are, if you have a little bit more of the cheese that you grated earlier, just kind of throw a little bit of that on top. That'll help make a really nice crust. A little bit of Parmesan cheese. Okay, the oven is 375 degrees, so go ahead and take your souffle and put it in there. The reason I cook my souffle on the bottom rack, especially in a very small oven, is so that way, no matter how tall it gets, I don't have to worry about it hitting the very top burner and getting stuck to it. And the time that you cook your souffle for is 45 minutes. Now here's the thing, you want to get it set in there nice and centered and exactly how you want it, because once you close that oven, you can never open it again until it's done. Not even to check, not even a little peek, not even just a teeny little bit. If you open this oven just a crack, your souffle is over. Your souffle is done for. It's the end of the world. It is on par with yolks in your egg white, my friends. So set your timer for 45 minutes. One of the best things to serve your souffle with is a salad. If you see any very conspicuous spots like that, just go ahead and tear them off and throw them away. And rinse your lettuce with cold water, because if you use hot water, it's going to get all melty and disgusting. Take a towel, or a paper towel, or a napkin, or just whatever you have, and put your lettuce on it and dry it off. And it's important to dry off your lettuce, otherwise that water is also going to get in there by way of osmosis. Is it hypotonic or hypertonic? I can't remember. But whichever one it is, it's going to get in there and it's going to make your lettuce wilty as well. If you've got one of those salad spinners that goes and spins your salad and dries it all out, go ahead and use that. So now you just take your lettuce and you can chop it, or you can just kind of rustically cut it up, break it up like that. Add anything to your salad that you happen to have on hand. I happen to have an onion. If you can chop up some onion, is always good. Maybe like a handful like that, just to kind of go on top of the salad and give it some nice purple accent. But no one really wants to eat onion that much. It's just kind of more for an accent. Another thing to add is mushroom. Just add a little bit, and if you chop it really thinly, you can make lots and lots, strewn them around the top. Any of the ones that can also be a little thinner, go ahead and just re-chop them carefully. Don't cut yourself down the middle into two. And now you'll see the top of it. So now we are going to make some homemade salad dressing, which is going to be really good. And what you need to do is you need to put a good sprinkling of salt. I'd say probably a 1/4 teaspoon. You can measure it, or you can just kind of eyeball it. And then you need a pinch of pepper. And you know me, I like my pepper, so. And I kind of really, when I pinch it, I do the money, you know, money. I do the money symbol with it, and that imbues it with success, and also helps release a lot of the flavor. Then if you have a little bit of celery salt, this goes really well. If not, that's okay. You don't need it, but just add a few dashes. And some sugar. This is going to be a lemon, olive oil salad dressing, and the sugar will help take the bite off of it. So add a good pinch to a dash of that. I kind of go toward more the pinch side because I don't like things too sweet. But if you've got a bit of a sweet tooth, you might want to go more toward the dash side. And just kind of mix this together. What you're going to want to add, 6 tablespoons of olive oil, but you're going to want to do it really, really slowly. Oops. Okay, so you just want a couple of drops at first, so that's good. You'll just see it start to kind of absorb all the spices into little balls. And so add a few more drops, and mix it around. Add a few more drops, mix it around, and you can tell this is a very slow process, but it's something to do to keep yourself busy while your souffle is baking. And right now it's actually 11:46, so it's 10 to midnight. And whisk, and a little bit more olive oil. So far, I've only added about 3 tablespoons. Just want to add 1 more tablespoon to your salad dressing, and this time do it of lemon juice. If you're using this kind of lemon juice, go a little bit less than a tablespoon because it's really much more acidic than the squeezed lemon. Olives are a really good addition to salad dressing, and you just mince them, you chop them up as finely as you possibly can. Chop up your tomato that we were going to save to chop until the end, and however you like to chop it is fine. I kind of do mine into these little sort of wedges. Put them over the top of your salad. Okay, now it's time to pull the souffle out of the oven. There it is. We start to take off the crown. How beautiful is that? Look at how it stands up like that. You want to get everyone in the family out right before this is about to go off. So don't pay too close attention to your salad or you won't be able to keep an eye on it. It's already started to deflate just a little. Good and eggy. You're going to serve this meal. You're going to want to plate it up right away as well. You're going to take your souffle and you're going to break into it at the very, very top like that and kind of pull it up and apart, and you'll see all this wonderful steam start to release. Like, that's got more pockets in it than an English muffin. That's so beautiful. It just tears away like fresh bread. Save this crust. That's what you want to put on top of. Scoop out a big lot of the bottom, put it on the plate, and just scoop out a big heaping pile of your salad. And then you can use the fork to give that salad dressing one last good whisk. Teeny little spoonful, and just kind of slowly drizzle it back and forth over the top of your salad. It's really delicious. It's really yummy. It's just so good. Look at that. See all sides of it? See how the crust on top is just nice and brown? I'm just going to shut up and eat while this is still warm. I hope you get a chance to make this. Have a wonderful night. Good night.